Nice. I'm Adam Manis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music advice coming at you.
Coming at you today. Music coming at you. A little Alone Together.
Music.
Yeah. Why is that such a fun tune to play? What is it about that tune that makes it sort of immortally fun to blow over?
Yeah. Feels good. Sounds good.
Yeah. Great melody. Easy melody.
Yeah. Nice.
Easy to hear.
Kind of diversity in the chord changes
and
structure.
These little
a little bit
bits.
unusual structure.
Yeah. Little.
But then wrapped around a
couple
beautiful
extra bars.
AABA.
Yeah. And then the B section. You know, the little Night Tunisia bridge. Yeah.
Yeah. Very basic on the bridge, but a little bit off kilter on the A's with the extra bars. But it's always that balance, right?
Yeah.
That je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. Works really well.
Yep.
Maybe something we should have done this weekend, because we played a little 2-piano gig this weekend in
was
beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right.
At Jazz Arts Charlotte. Shout out to Jazz Arts Charlotte. They're doing great stuff over there.
They really are.
Yeah.
It's a great organization. They have a wonderful educational arm, of which we were got to be part of by doing a workshop for some. Those were all high schoolers, right? Maybe some middle schoolers.
There were some middle school and high schoolers. Shout out to Patrick, the education director over there, and of course Lonnie Davis, who heads that whole
the
operation.
Executive director.
Yeah.
It's really, really great. Wonderful venue embedded within the Blumenthal Center.
Yeah.
Deep in the Bank of America Center.
Yeah.
But I had played in there's quite a few venues in that building.
We ran into some interesting things about that building.
We did.
Not us, but
no. But it's good to see the next generation, the bumper crop of young musicians.
Okay.
Coming up in the Charlotte area.
Yeah.
So fantastic audiences. I know we're going to talk about venues in general today, right? Because we have a speak pipe.
Yeah, we got a great speak pipe from Linda, she talks about a few things on the speak pipe, but one of the things that really piqued my interest is asking about what we prefer with venues. So we thought we'd call this...
So you're saying that you ran into this question earlier?
Yeah, I did, and it tore me up at first. But there's like two people that are getting what we're saying right now.
That's right.
But no, I thought we could talk about venues, the good, the bad, and the crazy. Because we've played... I know we've told stories before, but there have been some crazy venues.
Yes.
I've got some really good ones because you've done a lot you've been Cush gig for years now, Peter.
Well, the crazy ones are probably not going to be the Cush gigs. The great gigs are not always the Cush gig. Great venues are not always the Cush gigs.
Some of the best venues ever are not Cush.
Right.
They're in fact the opposite, but there's, we'll get into it.
Speaking of Cush, I just want to make a little shout out and congratulations to you for your wonderful short video. A lot of folks, we've been really pumping out some, I think, incredible short content. Mostly, when I say we, I mean you, Adam.
Yeah.
We've collaborated on a few, and I've done a few, but you have just had an incredible output really this whole year. And I think that the response now by short videos, we've talked about this before. It's basically a minute or below due to restrictions placed upon us by the YouTube Corporation.
It has to be less than 60 seconds.
Less than 60. And when we say it has, I mean, like
if it's 60,
if it's exactly 60, it's rejected.
Count. Yeah.
But Cush Chords was a great video that you did relatively recently and has just passed over the 1 million. Actually, it's probably like 1.5 million on all platforms, if not more.
Yeah.
But it passed over 1 million on Instagram over the weekend, which is super exciting.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of cool. Thanks, everybody, for all the support on the shorts. Love seeing all the comments on the shorts.
Yeah.
Love all the discussion around just these little nuggets of ideas. We're having fun with it. Can I ask you a question before we dive in, though?
Yeah.
What's the situation? You've got 3 beverage containers for the listeners here.
I got rid of that big ugly thing.
Did you get rid of it?
I mean, I didn't.
For
I
peer
got
pressure?
rid of it for
You
this
just
physical
don't.
space.
You don't bring it into work.
It's still, we're reducing reusing. So
it's not. I'm not.
This is water.
Okay.
Okay. It's 106 degrees outside.
It's
right
really.
now. The humidity's at 101%. I don't even know how that's possible.
In our building in the hallway, it's about
frigid.
55 degrees.
Yeah, it's frigid. So this is water. I'm already on my second one of these today.
Okay, for the listeners, he's got 3 beverage containers stacked in front of him.
Right.
I feel like it's a bit
I don't want to hide them in the back. And
do you ever watch The Office? It's like Dwight Schrute building like some kind of barrier, some kind of wall.
Right. So that's water.
What's in the gray one?
This is smoothie that I made this morning.
Okay. Gotta stay Got to stay. Is that protein or something?
There's some protein in it, but it's mostly fruit and peanut butter. It's actually kind of disgusting sounding, but I like it.
Okay.
Walnuts, peanut butter.
I love some walnuts.
Brazil nuts.
I love some Brazil nuts.
A lot of antioxidants.
Yeah.
Flax seeds ground up.
Superfood shake is what
bananas,
you got here. Yeah.
Some soy milk and all natural, no sugar.
I'm going to tell you something right now.
Dates.
There's not a single inch of this guy is inflamed right now. Nothing. There's no inflammation.
Not
with that shake.
Inflaming me.
Yeah.
This is coffee. Ever heard of it?
Okay.
Shout out Blueprint.
Yeah. Okay.
The master of the tiny $6 coffee.
Nice.
Anyway, we have. I just want to do a little. Yeah, Caleb liked that one. Caleb doesn't always. Wait, can we get a little Caleb cam? Or we look at him. See, he's smiling. That is not how he normally looks when we're doing this podcast. But
master of the $6.
We are. Shout out Caleb, producer Caleb. We are doing a recording here in about 2 weeks, probably in about a week from when you guys are hearing this. And I want to invite everybody on the pod here.
Oh yeah.
To hear this, it's going to be September 7th.
Hell
Ever heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it, man. I cannot
Eastern.
wait.
It's going to be nice. We're doing a live recording that's going to be live streamed on YouTube. We'll have a link to it below. It's available for free to everybody around the world. 8 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, September 7th. I'm premiering a new quartet that will be playing together for the first time that week. In fact, on the performance. And we're going to make a record in real time. It's called Generation S.
Actually, after this, I got some production questions for you because you asked me to kind of help with some of the producing. So
I ask you to produce it.
Yeah, let's meet after this episode.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do an episode on production at some point.
Sounds good.
I got some questions. That's so exciting. So yeah, do not miss September 7th. We're going live in the afternoon here in the States, and that's mostly for our European friends, and then in the evening for everybody here.
Yeah,
it's gonna be crazy good.
Yeah,
I've been following your journey as you've been writing this, and you can also follow Peter's journey here on his own Instagram or on the Open Studio Instagram. We're sharing a lot of stuff too about his composition process. It is fascinating, so do not miss that. Yeah. Okay, shall we get to today's Speak Pipe?
Yes.
This is from a very familiar name, Linda Meredith.
Yes,
I feel like
we've
seen her around, and so let's check.
She's a friend of the pod.
A friend of the pod. Let's check out Linda's question.
Hey, Peter. Hi, Adam. It's Linda from Southwest Florida. Pete, I think the last time I saw you was at the Kennedy Center with Diane Reeves. Too long ago. Hey, can you talk a minute about Diane Reeves receiving the Maria Fisher Founders Award and what that means to an artist? Also, how about an episode relating to your favorite performance spaces? What makes a great one? And what about bothersome audience members talking during performances? Do you hear it, and how do you deal with it?
You'll hear it.
I once saw Eliane Elise at the Iridium stop playing. Also, what do you hope a jazz neophyte gets out of a performance? I listen to every podcast, and even though I have a minimal music background, piano, guitar, and trumpet, and don't understand 75% of what you discuss, I do admire the talent and knowledge that you've worked years to attain. So I'm both educated and entertained. So keep up the useless dribble, and can I be a friend of the pod?
Yes, Linda, you are definitely a friend of the pod. Thank you so much for the lovely comments and for the great topic suggestions. We will definitely cover a couple of these. Let's get out of the way before we get to venues.
Yes.
Let's get out of the way first, the talking during the performance. We had a little bit of that actually in Charlotte, and it was one of those situations where it was natural.
Yeah.
And it was like it worked with the room and with the crowd, that we had, and it did not bother me very much at all.
Well,
like it was not distracting me. Because they were like talking about the music and there was some.
I would say mostly. There was one guy kind of over by me. We were sort of physically separated.
I heard him.
That guy?
Yeah.
It was kind of like some just talking about what was happening later that evening.
Yeah, that gets annoying if you can hear it.
And
he was like right in the
row.
front row.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
So
that can be like a little bit jarring, Linda. But I personally, I've seen artists stop a show, and in my opinion, it never is a good look.
Yeah.
It never works for the artist. Like, I mean, maybe it works for them because they really can't concentrate, but it always seems a little self-serving.
Yeah.
In my opinion, at least when I didn't see the one you mentioned, obviously, but I've seen it happen a few times, and I'm always a little cringy about like, surely there's a better way to deal with this than to scold a room full of people.
Right. I mean, I do think it does get to that point occasionally when that's sort of a last resort. I think then it's okay if it's because there is a certain, like sometimes you can feel an energy that there's just a few disruptors in the audience, and that the rest of the people are kind of like it shouldn't be up to them to tell them shh, although that certainly happens. I've actually been shushed at a show recently.
Hey.
Which is a little embarrassing, right?
Really?
Well, but it was an outdoor huge concert. You know, every year the St. Louis Symphony does an opening concert at Forest Park that's free on Art Hill. I mean, it's like 10,000 people there, maybe even more.
Yeah.
And we were sitting pretty far away, and like you bring a blanket, you bring some food and wine or whatever. There's food trucks. It's not your typical classical.
Some people will ask you to shush on
we
Art Hill.
We were there talking. We were with some friends.
You're on a blanket. See, this is what I'm saying. That's a totally appropriate place to have a conversation.
Exactly. And we weren't like yelling. It is a classical concert, though, so I get that.
I kind of get it, but so, I don't know. I'm not a snob about this stuff at all. Here's what I think. I think it should be really on the venue.
Yeah.
And like the artist should really communicate to the venue. Listen, if people start talking, it's up to you and your staff to really communicate that that's not okay.
But do you like that thing when, you know, some venues are like, we're a listening establishment, and they'll even say that.
Yeah, if
at
that's
the beginning
what we
of the
want
night,
out of
or they'll
it.
have a little, you know, sign on the
Keep your table conversations to a minimum.
That's weird, though.
I don't think so.
I think it should be more of an. I mean, no one ever says that at the Village Vanguard.
No, but you would get shushed at the Village Vanguard.
Right.
The venue will shush you or kick you out if you talk a
right,
bunch.
But there's also a certain culture of it being like, I feel like you can't say like, you know, we're a loving. It's like you go to somebody's house and there's a sign. We're a loving family.
I don't know. I kind of disagree.
Can't you just be a loving family?
It's a little bit of a guideline that you can set. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that. You know, if they don't have a lot of experience going to a jazz venue.
Well, just, you know, look around and see read the room, as we say.
I mean, if you don't like that, you don't like that, but I like it. Especially if
you
that's
like the
what
signs?
I like
you like to be told what to do.
If it is the sort of if it is an unwritten rule, like we shouldn't talk during this concert, I like for the, you know, that's what I'm saying. I like for the venue to be like, hey, listen, this is a listening room. I like actually what Victor Goins has been doing up here at Jazz St. Louis. He has been very clear. He's been like, we are a listening room. Please don't, you know, keep your table conversations to a minimum. But this is an interactive art form. If you want to hoot and holler, please do. If you hear something you love, please let the artist know.
I guess
that's the perfect balance to me.
I just guess I missed the time, and it still exists some places where that's the. It's not about. Maybe it is about being an educated audience. Like you come to bring your energy as an audience member. There has to be some experience level of attending a performance. Or it's like you go to an art museum and do they have to have signs, please don't spit on the paintings. Like, isn't that kind of known? You know, please don't touch the paintings.
It is, but there are, I mean, to be fair, there are literally dozens of different types of performances of varying volumes. If you're at a rock show, it's expected that you're going to be screaming and talking and dancing. But
there's no signs that say it's okay to scream and dance. That's what I'm saying.
No.
It's like there's a culture around.
But if you're at some venues, for jazz even, that is also expected and encouraged. And it's fine. Like, you know, when we were playing Thurman's every Thursday,
you never said,
trio,
we would appreciate you hooping and hollering.
And sometimes it was like you could hear a pin drop because everybody was super focused on the music. And sometimes people were like up talking, socializing, partying, and both were fine with us because it was kind of the vibe. I do think there is, like, in people's defense, like, if you're not clear, it can be very confusing, especially if you're at a club. Okay, we're at a club. I'm eating.
Right.
There's food. You know, if it's bright outside, that like if it's super dark and you're at a concert in a hall, that's one thing. But if you're like at a table with 3 other people and you're eating and like, do I talk or no? I don't know. You know, like.
Well, you bring up an interesting point because a lot of these venues orient the seating, and I mean certainly clubs, but also even like some larger venues. I remember doing some concerts at. What is that place? Like the Shimmerhorn or something in Nashville? The Symphony Hall there. The Matterhorn? No, that's in Switzerland. Something, whatever that hall is. And it's like a beautiful, it's not old. It's kind of a weird place, but it's supposed to look like an old European concert hall. I mean, it's like, you know, classical, Baroque architecture. Are those two different things? Who knows?
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you walk in and you're like, wow, Nashville didn't exist in 1784, but this building looks like it did.
Well, Memphis has a pyramid. Something going on in Tennessee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm saying but then for like when they have sort of jazz pops concerts, instead of seating in the orchestra level, they have tables set up. And so that encourages talking because the tables orient some people to be sitting looking at each other.
Yeah, of course.
And so a lot of these jazz clubs, and think about the Village Vanguard and even like the Blue Note in New York, all the seating, even though you have table,
two tops and the seating.
they're oriented towards the stage.
Yeah, that
right?
is a must. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this brings us back to Charlotte and Jazz Art Charlotte. They had a great
That was
setup
all
there.
oriented
all
towards
oriented towards the stage. And I guess we can shift now to what. So
we solved the problem.
The things
It's
that make a
orientation.
good club or a good venue
Yep.
are, for me, one of the things that I love, no matter what the size of the, club, theater, hall, stadium, or whatever, is it has to feel somewhat intimate. Like, I do not like some of these outdoor festivals where I feel like I'm a mile away from the audience and there's a barrier,
Right.
and you're up 20 feet high or whatever.
Right.
Like, I actually don't love that feeling. I feel like this music is best communicated when people are literally right up on you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so that was what was so great about Jazz Art Charlotte is like the whole orientation of the room and the way that they were sort of tiered out. So they had sort of a set of two top tables surrounding the stage, the stage where the musicians are on the lowest part of the room.
Yeah.
And then those two top tables, and there
It's
were
like a menagerie.
and then there were tiers that went above, this is my favorite setup actually, not where you're up, but where the audience kind of goes
Right.
up, similar to what a theater does. But and that was incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. I thought that was a great vibe. Similarly, any kind of obviously Village Vanguard setup is also great because people are on top of you and you feel like they're all around you. That is when the vibe for this kind of music I think works best.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, so we've talked about some great venues. We've talked about some not so great venues, or at least setups maybe.
Well, what makes a bad venue? What's like your number one?
Well, I think, not having that intimacy.
Yeah.
And that's not always a sizing thing because
No.
you could have a small room that doesn't feel intimate because the orientation of the stage
Yeah.
and the way that it's seated.
I say it all the time.
Isn't set up right.
The Sheldon up here
Yeah.
holds like 750 people, but it feels like you're in a living room. Like everybody
Right.
feels super close.
Right. And that's another kind of orientation thing.
Yeah.
The sound, I think, it's funny. We've talked about a lot of things besides the sound. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest anti-talking thing. Like if the sound
Yeah.
is really good
Yeah.
and you have it set up intimate, that's going to cut out a lot of people
true.
even thinking about talking.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's going to, of course, the performers, we got to bring it too. Like we have to play something that makes it so that the audience
Takes notice.
and is
Yeah.
more interested in hearing what we're playing than hearing what each other say.
I know.
And I think there's always room for like, whispering something like, "Whew, check that out," or even speaking, not silently, but close to silently, like a
Yeah.
little bit of like
Well,
whispering or something.
And definitely talking to the artist. Like feel free to shout out whatever you want to like.
Yeah.
I mean, to a point, but
Yeah.
to be like, to give us your like, especially if you're loving it.
Right.
That feels great.
Yeah. It's
Don't be
weird
shy.
though. Sometimes, like when
Woo, like a good woo
exactly.
can really set off a crowd. When I go see friends play, I like to be like the whistler, the wooer, because I know that
There's an art to that.
well, because that'll get everybody else in the crowd sort of like loosened up for that.
Yep.
And I know that can change a room.
I like doing that too, and I love when people do that at really interesting and intelligent times.
Yeah.
If it's like, woo, that's low hanging fruit, of course.
is. Yeah.
But like when you do it,
I pick that fruit all the time.
But sometimes like something kind of intricate or a little bit almost subdued will happen between, say, like the snare drum and the pianist, or some inside baseball stuff, to really appreciate that and give a woo at that time. I love that because that shows to the sort of collective intelligence of the audience. Even if it's just one or two people, that kind of stuff can start to, like, you can learn how to listen by following some people in the audience. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Like how you can be like, wait, what was that they were reacting to, as opposed to just, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the obvious stuff and the big build up.
Totally.
But it's great when that energy is reflected back from the audience. And I think that that's as much about how the venue set up, where it is, kind of I hate to say the intelligence. It's not the intelligence of the audience, but it's sort of the musical experience and intelligence of the audience. The sort of collective, like how much stuff have they heard? How familiar, not with what the chord changes are, but just how to respond to music and how to talk about later an emotionally impactful performance. A lot of these venues, especially if they're in a place like Well, it's different in New York because you have so many venues, you got so many different people, you got tourists and everything. There's just so much going on. But some place like Charlotte, like we just played, that does have great venues, but doesn't have a lot of different jazz shows happening at the same time.
That's right.
So it becomes a thing in with the fans where they talk about, oh, did you hear Branford Marsalis, who had just been there? I think it was the performance in there before ours. And then, I loved it when they did this. And it's like, oh, I'm looking forward to this next thing. It's part of a whole culture of appreciating music that's intertwined with the organization, with the audience, with the venue, and with the performers.
One more thing that could really kill a venue for me too is like, and this is for any size, any kind of venue, is when they don't respect like the music and the fact that they have live music as much as the people that are making it. So like one of the things that was great about us this weekend was I felt very taken care of, and like, you know, what we were doing was appreciated and respected.
Right.
As soon as we got there, like they really had a very like, we take this seriously. The sound was on point. Like, you know, all the little details, the green room, and there was water, and like, just, you know, I know silly things,
right?
But you play even some theaters, and it's just like, sign in the back, you know, like,
right.
You're treated.
It's a vibe that you catch from little different touch points.
You feel like The Help or something, right?
Right.
Instead of like, oh, there's art about to be made here, and like,
see, this is the way a 1 million Instagram
no.
guy talks. I'm starting to see what it is. See how the bar is raising up?
No. No, it's not even about.
Phil's not laughing now, but he is cracking a smile. I see him.
It's not even about. It's not about like being pampered. It's just about. It's just about a like you said, an attitude or a vibe about like
an attitude of gratitude.
What is this for? Is this here to make? Or, you know, you have this venue here just to make money, or are you actually like in love with the music that you're trying to present?
Right. And I think that, you know, we come to it very much from a service standpoint. So it absolutely is not about being pampered or like, do you know who I am? But it is about like, will you help me as I help you? We're all on this collective thing to serve up a great experience for the audience, a communal thing of beauty for the music and for the people tonight. Like, how is that best to do?
Yeah.
So like, if we don't have to run out and be like, trying to find some food and we can kind of chill and have some snacks, that's going to make a better performance.
Or you get there and the sound guy isn't there yet, and then he gets there and he's kind of surly, and then
drunk,
they're like,
stoned,
and then they're like, and oh yeah, we didn't mention this before, but we're going to take 20% of your merch sales, and like all that kind of stuff is just like, man, come on, like let's clearly communicate. Let's everybody be professional,
right?
And that happens more often than you might think, even amongst like professional venues,
right? And so when we talk about a great venue, to kind of get back to,
and by the way, just on the flip side, there are musicians who aren't professional either.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's all like a team effort, but it's sort of like especially when you're doing this like night after night, a bunch of one-nighters, like you got to be locked in. A lot of it is the communication beforehand and kind of letting them know how you operate it, and them letting us know how they operate. And sometimes you know before you get there, like, this is going to be great. It's not that everything's going to be perfect and we can't adjust or whatever. But it's like, you know, you're all on the same page. It's kind of like we're all professionals and we all understand what the goal is. And it's very exciting to me because a lot of times it's like you get there and it's sort of like from the moment you arrive at the airport or whatever, it's a partnership, but it's a 24-hour partnership with the venue. And it's like everything kind of culminates with the performance that evening. And a great venue has a great staff, has a great leader of the organization. Like, it all works together. And that puts us in the position and puts pressure on us as performers to really deliver, as it should.
All right, let's talk about the crazy. We've done the good, we've done the bad. What's the crazy? I'll start.
Okay.
Crazy is, and this has actually happened, there is a church prayer service that we have to wait till it's finished in the nightclub happening by the bar.
Wow.
I know.
Kind of a cross-cultural situation. I like that.
A bit crazy. And then, and the same gig, then they do have a piano.
Where's this?
But it's, this was in Appleton, Wisconsin. They have a piano, but it's in the other room. And would I mind helping move it onto the stage?
So lift it
onto the stage.
Brains and brawl required.
I'm going to call a couple of friends, and if you, me, and a couple of friends can get that piano on stage, you can certainly play it.
Right. That's
Isn't that great?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out Appleton, home of Lawrence College, I believe.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so crazy venues. As soon as you mentioned that, I always think of, for some reason, animals at the gig. The
Oh, yeah.
intersection of animals. Look, you know, that could be anything from a rat in a club. But I'm thinking more. I did a gig in Perth, Australia. Shout out Western Australia.
They've got some crazy animals down there.
Right. And it was a big like outdoor. Well, it was kind of like this Forest Park thing because we were playing with the symphony, the Western Australia Symphony in Perth, which were great. One of the best orchestras I've ever gotten to play. Super great players and just professional everything. But we're rehearsing in the afternoon outside. It's going to be like an evening concert as the sun sets. Big stage built up in this beautiful kind of park. Well, it was in a park, but it was sort of in the city. It was beautiful. And there were kangaroos at the rehearsal that bounced over to listen.
That's amazing.
It was so weird. I thought that they were like trained or that it was a kid in there.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been an adult. Kangaroos are big.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on kangaroos. They will kick your ass.
No, they will kick. They're known to kick ass. That's what they do. They've got those big feet for a reason.
But I'm up there on stage, and with these things with the orchestra, there's always a lot for me to do as musical director in terms of coordinating, and it's always time pressure because like we're rehearsing a 90-minute show in about 90 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
But when I saw those kangaroos, I was like, hold on a second. I was like, I gotta, and you know, all the people in the orchestra there were like, what you mean? This is okay. Give me an Australian accent. Clue me in here. That was really bad.
Nar? No. Nar? That's my note. That's how they say.
Oh, nar.
Oh, nar.
Put another kangaroo on the bar.
All right, we gotta stop. Let's stop. Love you, Australia. Love you, Australia.
But these kangaroos bounced over kind of far away and then came a little closer and then sat there and watched us.
That's beautiful, man. I love it. I got another crazy one.
Yeah.
Playing an outdoor festival. I believe it was like some kind of food and wine and music festival. And crazy programming. So we were playing sort of like some soft Norah Jones-esque singer-songwriter jazz.
Yeah.
And we were after a group of rap artists that were enormous people, like 300-pound men who had like, you know, like that kind of like beat going. And no shirts and tons of tattoos. And then we were next. And literally the host of the show, because everybody was so amped up from the rap artists, who I think had a bit of a hit at that time, had to say like, all right, listen up. You're all about to get an education in jazz. So shut up.
Oh, I love it when they introduce you like that.
That was one of the crazy. I was like
take your medicine.
I was convinced the crowd was going to start throwing batteries at us because it was just not a great fit. That was a crazy billing.
That's crazy.
We should have been. That was at 11 p.m. too when we went on. We should have been on that day at like 3 o'clock.
Right. Of course. Of course. All right. Well, I think we covered it. Yeah. I feel enraged and crazy right now. So that's awesome.
That and crazy. Thank you, Linda, for the great speak pipe. If you want to listen to a speak pipe, Peter, where would
listen to a speak pipe?
If you want to
leave.
If you want to, my brain is a little crazy.
How many cups of coffee did you have this morning so far?
About 8. If you want to leave us a speak pipe, Peter.
Yes.
Where do they go?
Go to speakpipe.org.
No.
Not at all. You'll hear it.com.
You'll hear it.com.
And you can leave it there. And don't worry about perfection. I know you might be intimidated by Linda's beautiful oratory delivery of her questions, but you have several chances to do it. So feel free to do that. And we may or may not put you on the air at some point. We're a little overwhelmed with speak pipes.
Don't worry
about
honest. Speaking correctly. I mean, I obviously can't do it here on the show. So
right.
Yeah. Till next time.
You'll hear it.